All right. Well, shall I start the recording, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks, Adrian.
All right.
This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening, everyone. It is February 4th, 2025. It is 8:01 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Stephen Nikala, Chairman of the Libertarian National Committee, and we'll be calling this executive committee to order. Ms. Harlos, whenever you'd like to start with roll call, please.
Certainly. Just give me 1 second. I've been doing a little bit of it informally, I believe. So everyone on the executive committee is here except for Mr. Redpath and Mr. Watkins. And for the LNC, I saw Mr. Bust. Is Mr. Vincent here? Mr. Dassing? Mr. Garcia? Mr. Lamb? I saw Ms. Hayes. I've got her. Mr. McGee? No. Mr. Nana? Mr. Bracco? If I call your name and you're here, let me know. Mr. Chatterton? Mr. Hirsch? Mr. Johnson? Did I miss? Oh, Greg's there. Okay, I see you. Mr. Johnson is not here. Mr. Thompson, Mr. Weir. Okay, so Mr. Chair, again, out of the executive committee, everyone's here except for Mr. Redpath, and I see Mr. Weir's coming in now, and Mr. Watkins, and then on the LNC, who we have present is Mr. Boss, that's executive committee member, sorry, Ms. Hayes, Mr. Hirsch, Mr. Malagon, and Mr. Weir. Is there any LNC members that I missed?
You missed the live audience.
All righty.
All right, excellent. So I believe we only have one item on the agenda, which is the approval of Sunday's meeting minutes. And then we have an item for any other matters. I don't believe we have anything else to discuss except that I did already talk to Hannah about the transitioning process, as well as Kathy. I'm going to be heading up to Miami tomorrow for the bank transfer for PNC and Truist. They just need us to supply the minutes so we can get everything transferred over, and everything else is pretty smooth so far. So this is the only part of the process that we need to have so we can get it done by tomorrow. So
well, good luck, and I will be very surprised if you get that done tomorrow, but I will be very happy as well.
We'll see. If not tomorrow, maybe the next day. So yeah, I will.
Anytime this week would be great.
Exactly. So
if there is no drama
Mr.
on the street, I will be so angry.
To inquire while we're in this entire process, which of course it would be a whole other process of getting this set of minutes required, but I have a potential solution for that. If we wanted to do this now, we could do it at a later date. He had inquired whether we wanted Ms. Kennedy on the account.
Devin, if you can hear me, the banner is still up from Zoom.
She expressed to me that she doesn't want to be on anything.
Okay. He wanted me to inquire. And
now, the banker did say that
I mean, at the top of the screen,
recommend
everybody
3
off.
signers. So I don't know what the committee's thoughts are on that, but chair and treasurer are pretty standard.
So I believe that the LNC can designate appropriate staff or LNC. To do so, we would have to, vote if it's somebody else besides you. But I think that, I'm all for 3 people. If you have another victim who's not me.
Dang it, now I'm not sure who I'm going to pick. No,
I'm on the audit committee.
No,
it can't be me.
No, I know. Yeah, well, if there's somebody, you guys think of, I mean, I'm cool with me and the treasurer for now, and really it's a posterity thing. So if something changes in the future, who is going to be, helping with that transfer?
Shouldn't it be the vice chair, since we're not looking to offer?
I was thinking about that.
Or do anything to you, but if we do decide to hire a hitman and
make me a Boeing whistleblower.
Yeah, if Mr. Dar, if you know
Karen Ann.
something about Hillary, and Mr. Dar all of a sudden has to auto ascend, that it will be smooth. It just seems logical to have the vice chair.
I just hope
Mr.
Kathy can watch
Malagon.
us now.
Thank you, Mr.
She was
Chair.
last
So
time.
I know I'm not a part of this committee. I would just recommend that I was going to say the vice chair as well, simply because other people just wouldn't make sense. There is usually turnover as far as region reps are concerned. At larges like officers are less likely to resign, which is kind of ironic since we just had one resign. But
Well,
that's
was
typical. Well,
forced.
two resign technically, but that's typically not the case. So that it
It's
would
not
make
her
the
claim.
most sense to have, I think, chair, vice chair, and then
Typically,
in
we
the
don't
event
endorse
that
coercion.
you know had to step away or something happened. Wendy's caught on fire and you needed to attend to that. And so Mr. Dar could
Is
step
that a
in
threat?
and then take
He's
over
threatening him.
seamlessly without having to go through this whole
Not
transition
like-
again. That
Something
would be
would be terrible if something were to happen to your
You say that,
Wendy's,
but it
sir.
has happened before.
Was Michael Heist proximate
Paul,
to
would you
you?
be down for that?
That should work. I'm not sure if I have any of those branches nearby though. If that's a bank card thing, I can sign separately from there.
Okay.
Now,
Now,
otherwise,
you might not have to show up. I know for PNC, he said he's going to try to do it digital. And then I'm friends. We actually bank with Truist, so I know the branch manager for Truist down here. It's like 500 feet from my house, so I can talk to him and see if there's a way we can just get you signed up and not have to get you to a bank. I got to drive 4 hours north because I live in the middle of the ocean, and sometimes I'm reminded of it. So we don't have PNC down here, but okay, cool. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe that would require a vote of the board, though, to approve Mr. Dar being on the account. Would that be correct?
That's the way we've handled it in the past, and I think that's the safest way to
Mhm.
I
handle
would
it.
concur. I think that's fair. Okay.
If there's no emergency, I would recommend a full all-in-C vote, because executive committee is really supposed to be for things that we have to do, like right now, or things that are specifically delegated to it in the policy manual.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I would argue, I mean, what constitutes an emergency, right? But if you're going to go and take care of this tomorrow, assuming, because everyone has to be on the same page for this, it's really hard. What the problem is that getting everyone together at these respective branches at the same time. I've had to deal with it here in California. So, if Mr. Dar is available tomorrow at that time, I don't see why it would be a problem. I can't imagine this would be controversial, but that's not my call.
This is
If
the
you want to go
LNC.
back to Miami, and God, that just sounds awful to say out loud. If you want to go back to Miami and not to a specific team building exercise like establishment, then perhaps
This one's
It's an
actually
a
continuation
do it
of
now, not
Sunday's
wait,
Real Swapcast.
It's an
That's not-
emergency meeting.
you're saying we
The
only need either
LNC having a
Miami
meeting
for-
is an emergency now.
For this.
pretty much.
Libertarians are talking.
Yeah, no, let's run it through let me just take care of it tomorrow and I'll run it through the full board. I don't think it'll be a problem, but I think it's appropriate since it is dealing with a signatory on the bank. Just in case somebody isn't comfortable with it. I don't think anybody would be, but just everybody's bought into it, and I think we'll get you on. But yeah, I think 3 signatures in each account sounds good to me. Let's see. Other than that, Stripe is being taken care of. I'm already on paychecks. There's a couple other things, but obviously the bank accounts are the big ones. And then as far as transitioning stuff goes, we're pretty much well on our way in all regards. So the only thing we really need the minutes for is the bank statements, or the bank accounts rather, and then we should be good to go. So any discussion on the minutes?
Yes, I moved to strike them entirely.
All
It
right.
makes me look
Hearing
bad.
none, is there any objection to the minutes as presented? Going once, going twice, 3 times, minutes pass. So I think that's it.
He looks very proud of
email
himself
you a
right now.
copy that has final on it
Okay.
right after this meeting, because the last copy said draft 2. So I'll finalize it and send that over to you.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. Thank you, Karen Ann. Thank everybody for being on. That was quick. I don't think there's anything else to cover. So we'll, Ben, you got your hand up?
Yeah, hey Steve. I'm not sure if this is something that we could do,
I think
like
it's
with the
Mayor
social media
Steve.
team or whatever. But
Sure.
I think it'd be good to see our accounts come out as quickly as possible against what Trump just said about how he wants to take over Gaza.
Yeah, I just saw that. We have that resolution on Israel. So I'm gonna talk to Brian McWilliams tomorrow and see if there's something we can put out on that. Because obviously it's in the news cycle and it's pretty big. Adrian, Mr. Maligan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just reminded that if there was a decision that was made today, so if Mr. Dar were available tomorrow to get everyone on at once, it could just be ratified later by the LNC. So it would still go through the process. We could get through it, and then it could just be ratified after the fact, which I don't believe would be a problem. But I think a quick email or something to everyone just saying, are we good with this? And then we'll officially ratify it after the fact would suffice as well, just so that we have all three people on at the same time.
I think that's a good game plan. Yeah, I'll send an email after this.
What time is it again tomorrow?
I'm gonna get with I'm gonna call the banker in the morning. I'm actually gonna submit this to him tonight, and I'm gonna double check and make sure that everything is kosher. So
Is this just to the Truist account?
this is for PNC. Truist is a different process.
Okay.
Bill had to send an email out to them. I'm gonna also deal with that too to see the process.
Okay.
So, yeah, it might be a different. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow for Truist or not, Paul. Kathy?
Stephen,
Yeah.
could you, excuse me, be sure you get on both. There's 2 accounts at each bank.
Understood.
Oh, excuse me.
Michael poisoned her. It's terrible.
Right, the PNC,
It's
there
from the
is
top rope.
our operating account that payroll comes out of. Excuse me, and then also a money market account that the bond from the Michigan lawsuit was in, which may I don't know the status of that. That may be in process of being released. And at Truist, we have our operating account and we have the account that we administer, the 90% account for the Kennedy Victory Fund.
Gotcha. Okay.
So just be sure they get you on all of them.
Gotcha. Okay. And I'll also double check on debit cards and things like that and see what's floating out there.
A lot of debt, sir.
I would
A lot of
confirm
debt.
with both banks if there are any credit cards or debit cards and who has them.
Angela?
And terminate any that are
With Angela?
Unaccounted for.
I'll
Or
also
not
ask them.
not current.
I'll also check with Hannah to see if we have any checks out there as well. I know when we transitioned from Florida, that was also a big thing, is to count the checks and see what check ranges we have out there. We need to make sure we know where. So I'll double check with both those things.
I'm not worried, just for the record, that anybody has charged anything on the credit card unauthorized. Hannah gets notifications whenever anything comes through a credit card charge. So we would already know if there was an issue, but we just, as good practice to just, we don't have them. We don't have it to cut up. So just cancel it.
Good housekeeping.
It seemed that there was an implied motion to add Paul Dar to the PNC account. Do you want to formalize that, and then we're going to have it ratified? We would have to vote for it and then ask for ratification from the LNC.
The answer is yes.
So why don't
It should be.
I will make a motion to add Paul Dar as a signatory to both the PNC and Truist bank accounts.
Okay.
Only sort of good.
Second.
He still said, I will make a motion instead of I motion to, but
He declares
Your
making a
objection?
motion.
yeah, I motion to motion.
All right, Mr. Chatterton.
If I can give you guys a suggestion from my experience in Michigan, I think banks usually want to have specific account numbers so you could put some provision in that to authorize the secretary or whoever appropriate to add those things to any note for if these are to go to the bank for record of authorization or something like that. To be specific about the bank accounts and whatever forms you got to communicate to the bank in general is what I'm suggesting.
Sit down.
But not in minutes or whatever, maybe not directly applicable, but I just wanted to share that.
Gotcha.
He wanted to be
Thank you,
relevant.
Mr. Chattern. All right. Well, it looks like that motion is good to go. It passed. Any other housekeeping stuff or anything else relevant you can think of? Anybody?
I hope not. It looks like the LNC is quite literally killing Miss Yanuskavich, so we should probably wrap this up.
I'm worried about this, quite frankly.
I'm fine. I
can't
choked
even
on
take
an
credit. I'm
M&M.
going to be
You
honest.
must know.
I can't take credit for that joke. That's not mine, but if I can speak, I will take credit for it.
Is there a motion
Is he
to
watching our
adjourn?
live stream?
Move to adjourn.
Any second?
Second.
You don't need a second on small committee, FYI.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, I don't think there's any objections, so I will talk to you guys soon. Paul will be in touch, and
Sure
hopefully
thing.
we'll get that switched over tomorrow.
Good
And-
luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mr. Nikela, you had said you wanted to talk with me. after
The
this
recording
meeting.
has stopped.
Yes.
You want to call on the phone?
Yeah, call me on the phone because I think there's some banking stuff we have to.
Okay.
I think you were in contact with PNC, right?
I'm sorry?
You reached out to PNC already via email or?
No, I need to, but there's several things on that. So we could talk on the phone.
Okay. All right. Cool.
All righty.
See you on the flip.
Devin, scream in the Zoom call. Devin,
Deuces,
pull it
y'all.
in Hawaiian. Scream, it's a coup! It's a coup.
Oh man. I guess as short as that is, maybe we should just do kind of a quick news roundup outside of the LNC.
Sure, go for it.
So the reference they were making there for Trump is that Trump actually tweeted out that we will take over Gaza and we will do a job with it.
Do a job. What kind of job?
Do a job with it.
Just any job at all.
Yeah, that's literally. I got the tweet up here.
Employment numbers.
And I quote, "The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too."
And we will do a job with it too.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, he's getting employment up. I guess that's good.
yeah. It's like I'm thinking that we may have a actually functional LNC. They started on time.
I wouldn't hold my breath. I would not hold my breath.
Yeah.
Until a few things happen, right? Until we get the business list published, or until we get it public. Also, Michael Heiss needs to be off the LP's payroll. He is still on the
100%.
LP's payroll. That there is no reason for this, especially not when he has that close of a tie to someone.
My guess for what they're going to do there, and this is a prediction. This is not any of my random sources or anything. My prediction is that Stephen Nikela is going to let Heiss stay for the moment, give him a job to do under that contract, and then Heiss is going to fail it and they're going to fire him. I think this is essentially a PIP for Heiss. A personal improvement plan.
Heiss can be competent when he needs to be, and I mean, there's absolutely there are reasons to terminate that contract. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Completely agree.
There's no reason
But
to wait.
I agree with that too. I think that they are going to play it what is in their mind safe, and
Which is
that
bad.
way. You're preaching to the choir, my friend. I think they're going to play it safe because they are worried about having an angry Hawaiian go screaming at them, etc.
He's my new favorite account on Twitter. I don't know if nobody heard me talking about this last night. I want to do a collab with him. This is Austin. We call him, well, we call him the Crying Hawaiian. He was shouting, and I like him. He plays the ukulele well, and I think we could do a peace collaboration together. So I'm going to pitch that.
I am guessing the LNC is going to hold Heiss on for at least a full month.
we're going to be paying Heis for a full month.
That's my guess. I don't know that. I'm not saying I agree with that, but if we were to put a gentleman's nickel down right now, I would put a nickel on Heis being around for at least a month.
There should be a motion to not have that happen. There's no reason for it. It is just to pacify people who don't need to be pacified, and it's a waste of money, which we've already done far too much of that.
Oh yeah. Well, a hop in LP National, and assuming this vote for Malagon goes Malagon's way, at Adrian and see if Adrian will throw it up there. It seems like Adrian is not generally afraid of making anyone mad, so
It's true.
we're in a very weird spot right now, though. Like, we want the LP to be great. We want the movement to be strong, but we don't want to lose momentum, just like we've talked about. And so there's this, I'm going to be hyper vigilant watching this LNC to make sure it's still going the right way, and call out anything that's wrong. But we don't want them to waste money. We don't want them to do things that are stupid or bad. So it's, I have my fingers crossed that they are not a dumpster fire, I guess is the idea. Yeah, I agree with Joe Hanush here. Make the LP libertarian again. Which I don't know that that's really their plan, right?
No, it's not.
Right. I'm trying to be more diplomatic about it than you are,
Yes,
even though I think you're correct.
You don't have to be diplomatic, but I will be I will be the twat waffle on this particular stream, as I tend to be. So the makeup of the board is virtually unchanged, as we talked about last night. And some of the people on the LNC are great and did something very courageous last night, 2 nights ago. Feels like an eternity. And also 10 seconds ago. They did something very courageous. They're also in kind of a deadlock. And as long as the people who were condoning hostile tactics, who are condoning threats and coercion, remain on this board, remain on the LNC, there's only so much that can be accomplished. And the things that need to happen, again, public business list, what is going on? Public business list, terminate Heis's contract, and take that money that you're saving, put it to good use, have an independent investigation of McArdle's finances. Yep. There's something where there's money for this, and this is something that we discussed last night. But these are the 3 first things that need to happen for this new, quasi-new, really only a couple people are new, LNC.
This new coalitioned LNC.
But is it a coalition LNC? We have one. How many people who are not Mises do you have?
3.
3.
Well, if assuming you mean ever Mises, right? Because Meredith's been kicked out, and Angela and Adrian and all kinds of stuff. So but assuming you're meaning a never Mises, there's Paul. There's assuming Keith is taking the R3 role for right now, and Dustin and Nana. I think that's pretty much the list. I may be missing somebody. There's 16 people to think about, and I don't always think of everybody.
So not a ton of factional diversity still.
No.
Unless you count unless you count the fragmented Mises people as being part of a new caucus, and I'm sure that the people who are still claiming the mantle of Mises will say that.
So there is a non-zero part of me that really hopes that the people that are kind of fracturing away from Mises will, in long term, take over Mises and make Mises actually about von Mises, Austrian economics, really push that hard line. Make the LPRC actually have some competition in the principled radical libertarian side.
We like competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Frag Mises and Prag Mises. Dang it, Nathan, that's good. So there's 16 people currently. Basically 3 are non-Mises, and then there are 6 that are hardline Heist Mises. So I mean, we're looking at 6 others that are kind of split from Mises. And so in that way, we sort of like have, yeah, Mises pieces. That's correct.
Mises and pieces.
We kind of do have a balance there. And suddenly it's okay. So this is going to be kind of an interesting thing to draw from. But basically, the two factions of Mises on it right now are the Democrats and Republicans, and the three little ones making or breaking it are libertarians, right? Like that's sort of what we have set up. Is this the three that are, or I'm sorry, the six that are really with Heiss are very pro-Trump, very much wanting to work with them. The six other ones aren't necessarily against Trump, but they are not Trumpers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the three that are like, no, fuck uniparty things entirely. Let's get this done our way. And so it's kind of wild to think that we've got this little pseudo countrywide setup in our own little board.
A little microcosm, a microcosm of the people. Lovely.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
And so maybe if things are perfectly balanced and the two sides are always polar, having to convince the people in the middle are going to do things. But who knows? That's hopeful.
Well, the people in the middle, I mean, that would be fair if it weren't a majority consensus type of thing. If we're all pretty evenly split, then again, you have gridlock and there's not much that gets done. Certainly I don't expect any discussion of changes, and they couldn't make them right now, but I don't expect any discussion of changes with regard to representation, with regard to structure. I don't expect discussions, of new initiatives or anything.
Be made until Grand Rapids.
Right.
Like there's certainly still a lot of work to do. Even if this turns out to be suddenly the best LNC ever, which I seriously doubt. I'd put a large amount of money that it's not going to be. But assuming that it does, we've got to get people together to make sure that the LNC is actually representing the members. And it doesn't always have to agree with the members and everything. That's not what the representational scheme is supposed to do. But we need to make sure that a chair doesn't get to run rampant ever again. That's got to die. We've got to decentralize that power. It's sure, it's only happened one time in 50 years where we have a chair get in who seems to actually want to destroy the party, but that's 1,000 too many.
But that, and for a very, very long time, we have had problems with chairs, and we've had either inefficacy or we've had various kinds of lower grade scandals. There has always been a tension, and I think generally speaking, I hate to say it, an attitude of contempt at times between the LNC and the members in general. And that's something that comes through. It certainly came through in this administration. And it's not acceptable and could be remedied, at least in part, by needing to have more members' input. Committees comprised of people who are not LNC, trying to decentralize things and having it so that voting is changed to make it more representative. So these are big changes that won't happen until Grand Rapids, and won't happen
at a minimum
without a new slate.
Yeah, it's like that takes 2/3 of the delegates. So 710-ish people all agreeing that they want it to change. There's a lot of work left to do. It realistically, if we can't convince that many people to show up to Grand Rapids and really work to make sure that we're aligned and representing the entire party, we're in trouble still, like a lot of trouble still.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's Grand Rapids and it's the preceding convention, so that there aren't bylaw shenanigans pulled in the interim. Yeah.
Yes. I just got poked. Someone just private messaged me a tweet here. Let me see if this is relevant to us. It's from a libertarian thing.
Oh, then it's always, libertarians are always relevant, as we know. So this should be good.
Yes, this is in fact again about Trump here. The Libertarian Party of North Carolina responded to Trump's declaration on taking over the Gaza Strip with, and I quote, "This is not America First or libertarian foreign policy. America First and libertarian foreign policy would immediately end all foreign aid, all military aid, and remove ourselves from all entangling alliances." And a higher up, excuse me, a higher up from the Georgia LP sent an angry face at this. America First does not include Israel unless they have become the 51st state. I don't understand how. Okay, whatever. We don't need to be in Israel. We don't need to be in Gaza. If Israel wants to buy weapons from us, I personally don't think that's the end of the world. I don't want the MIC to exist, but if it's going to exist, we might as well profit off of it, is my general opinion on it. Ukraine, actually, I do think, okay, so I think that his actual numbers and things are bad, but Trump suggested that we should be backing Ukraine in exchange for rare earth minerals from Ukraine.
Well,
I personally think that if a government's going to get entangled with another country like that, that's how this should work, is we should be getting paid for it. The government shouldn't be selling things, though.
Well, here's the thing with rare earth minerals, and I've written about this. I wrote about this ages ago, that we have the resources right now. We don't have to actually set up any new mines. From the byproducts, from the waste byproducts, from the mines that we're extracting materials from the mines right now, we can be mining rare earths from the waste byproducts of things like iron ore, copper. So we can do that.
Aluminum, bauxite.
Aluminum, yes, thank you. And again, this isn't, everyone talks about, oh, it would take years to get a mine up and running. Yeah, it would, but we don't have to do that. We could do it tomorrow. And the amount of material that we could extract would satisfy, at the time that I did the research for this, and it will have changed by now, would satisfy at least 60 to 70% of global demand at the time that I wrote that ourselves. The reason we can't do that is because of has to do with a nuclear regulation that was written back when like hair metal was a thing, having to do with what counts as a nuclear byproduct, which was, again, this is regulation run amok. So this had to do with what counts as a nuclear waste byproduct. And then because something is designated as being a potential nuclear waste byproduct, we can't be creating it. So instead we outsource it to China, and that is much more expensive. It is much more exploitative, and it is much less clean for the environment. But we get to look good because the carbon footprint isn't on us. It's on someone else. We've done the same thing with Venezuela. And so, we don't need to do this rare earth stuff anywhere else but here. And I'm not a pro-tariff person. This is probably the most America first that I will sound in quite some time. But we can be doing that here, and we're not.
So this is a discussion I'd like to come back to, but Devin's just let us know that he's got a tweet from Jake Porter responding to Angela calling him a cyberstalker.
Ooh.
Instead of answering about potential embezzlement, she threatened me with her attorney and to use the FBI against me. She also made up a weird conspiracy about the reporter. For those that aren't aware of what Jake's talking about, Reason released an article today, which he's linked to here, that specifically has Angela McArdle calling a number of people feds. And as you can see in this particular tweet with this clip, she specifically calls out Todd Hagopian and Jake Porter. I could, in no way do I agree with her, but if I was crazy, I could see, a reporter is looking into my background. He must be a cyberstalker. It's insane, but I can follow that logic. I don't know how you get to Todd Hagopian. Todd is literally the former treasurer of the LNC who followed the breadcrumbs as they were happening, has continued to follow the treasury work now. It's something that is interesting to him as someone who has done this job. And apparently for doing his job, he's a cyber stalker, which kind of sums up my opinions of Angela in general, right? Like, this is a person who is like, you're doing your job, you're a Fed.
Well, yeah, we saw that. We saw that with Karen Ann Harlow's. She's got something as well. So I love Reason, and Brian Doherty does great reporting. She is throwing shade now on Brian Doherty, who is the long-suffering Libertarian Party beat reporter. Thank you, Brian, for all you do, and I'm sorry. I'll send you a fruit basket for your services. But yeah, so she's throwing shade on him because there are unclassified documents on Reason in the State Department archives. Look, the intelligence and the surveillance industry likes to spy on, particularly on libertarian organizations. We found it was happening at Cato. We thought it was hilarious. And again, we pitied the people who were listening in on our conversations about wonky financial policy. But this is just what happens. So no, Brian Doherty is not some domestic terrorist because he's in the State Department archives, which someone who has spent most of their tenure critiquing the intelligence and surveillance complex should know. But apparently it's only when it's convenient that you can critique them. And then as soon as it becomes convenient to do otherwise, you will switch.
Yeah, absolutely true. It, over the years, I have not loved every article from Reason, but 95% of them I would think are, pretty high quality, great stuff. And this is going to sound like I'm stumping for the statist here, but it's not the intention. If I was worried about anarchy taking over the country, I would be looking at the Libertarian Party too, right? Like, we are the problem.
Well, with business meetings like that, though, I mean, how else would you do it?
Yeah. I've talked about before how I don't think that the people in the party are feds. But if you were going to send a Fed, throwing a chair of the party that wants to work with the Uniparty and then goes and gets a job with the Uniparty, tell me that's not what it would look like, right? I honestly don't think Angela's a Fed.
No.
But if she were, it wouldn't surprise me, is how to say it.
I would be very surprised if she were a Fed, because Feds are usually a lot better at covering their tracks, or they should be. Like, that's the thing at every turn. It's as though you're asking to get caught. But similar to Trump, I think, sometimes in that regard. So who knows?
It's funny that you bring up the Professional Wrestling Caucus here. I mentioned earlier to a Texas friend who was upset with Angela, that I could just imagine her from the top rope if she ever gets in a room with Angela again. And I do not actually think she'd violate the NAP, but from the top rope and just drop down on somebody is exactly what comes to my mind for what would happen. I think a lot of us can at least understand how people get physically angry in this, how people would go out and cause violence. And so I'm going to transition the topic one more time here, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Just to remind anyone watching that if you physically go after somebody, you're a piece of shit, right? Like, we've seen this against, we saw a lot of it when Mises first came up, and now we're seeing it to a lot of the people who are breaking away from Mises. And we saw it from a lot of the anti-Mises people toward even reasonable Mises folks. And that's violation of the NAP. Like, when people are going after the jobs, when people are going after each other in their real life and aren't using their words to convince ideas, that's a NAP violation. And those are the kind of people, we need a way in our bylaws to say that if you cause actual violence, you actually go after someone's livelihood, their home, etc., that they shouldn't be part of the LP anymore. Not to say that necessarily we're going to. Oh, Joe's correct. Jake Porter should get a lifetime membership.
He should. we can take Trump's lifetime membership, which McCardle is now saying that the LNC cannot revoke the membership.
She's correct-ish.
Okay.
It turns out that it was a paid-for membership.
Okay.
Well,
Jim that's good. I'm glad I paid for. Sorry, go on.
No problem. Jim Cantrell paid for that membership. That's his free speech to say that he believes that Trump is doing libertarian things, getting libertarian things done. I don't personally agree with him, but I do have a lot of respect for Jim. As far as I know, the reason it's honorary is because Trump has not signed the NAP. He has not signed the agreement to, not be a flaming militarized piece of shit. And so it's honorary only because he hasn't signed the paper.
Right. But it is paid for.
It is paid for.
People can be removed from the Libertarian Party. And in exceptional circumstances, can they not be removed from the Libertarian Party?
The bylaws are not very good on it.
Okay.
That's basically what it comes down to is there's not a good definition of what's bad enough to remove you from the party. There's not a definition really for how that method works.
Bombing Somalia, organizing
missile
strikes
against that would be plenty.
I feel like if someone did that, probably that's grounds for removal from the party.
Joe says that we should refund the membership, which, Joe Hanush is a person that we should see if we can get on here as an actual talking head at some point. Joe is a smart man. I would certainly listen to Joe's takes on things.
I think we'd have an interesting discussion, yeah.
It's so mind-boggling to me. And I know that I'm rambly here, but we have someone. We got 15 minutes. I'm gonna pull a thing up and
do it. Talk
from there. Because I'm a psychopath, I have the platform page bookmarked and read it routinely. So there are three main branches to the Libertarian platform: personal liberty, economic liberty, securing liberty. Those are the things we go with. Personal liberty is self-ownership, expression and communication, privacy, personal relationships, which, as an aside, Angela's entire anti-trans makeup should be disqualifying for Angela right there as a direct
such bad makeup.
Oh, that's fair too. It doesn't come. I know people that were curious if it would ever happen, so they bought day one. Still don't have any. But remember, Angela's not fraudulent or a grifter.
No. It identifies as makeup. That's what's important.
Yeah. It's the king's new makeup. Personal relationships, parental rights, adult rights and responsibilities, crime and justice, the death penalty, and self-defense. Of those, Trump hasn't been for self-ownership, because he's talked about how individuals don't have the right over their own body. He wants to stop trans surgeries, for instance. I'm going to harp on the trans thing a couple times here because it's just a convenient, easy one that's been very heavily in the news and that libertarians are very much for. You don't have to like trans folks. You don't have to go out and spend your time defending trans folks. I will, because I believe in their right for it. But expression and communication, all freedom of expression and government censorship. Hey, look, Trump is against trans people again. That's the second one. Privacy. Hey, look, you now have to declare what you were at birth to people. You are now going to have to, in some places, carry a card to prove that you're a legal citizen. That's not privacy. Personal relationships. There is already anti-gay shit going through Congress because of Trump's backing. Parental rights. You can't help your kid with their transition until they're 19. You can be a legal adult and can't transition. Adult rights and responsibilities. Again, you can't transition at 18. Crime and justice. It is a crime to lie about your executive order, so it probably isn't. But until it goes before the courts, it's nominally illegal to lie about your birth sex. The death penalty. Trump came in and promptly said that we're bringing the death penalty back for federal crimes, and listed crimes like Ross's as Ross Ulbricht's as ones he's going to attempt to prosecute and put people to death for. In self-defense, Trump has been bad on guns. Trump banned bump stocks. Trump has talked about how we need more common sense gun laws, and that for anybody that's ever been a criminal, we should take the guns first and then prosecute them. Trump fails literally 0 planks of personal liberty. For economic liberty, aggression, property, and contract, failure. Environment, failure. For those that are not familiar with the Libertarians' environmental plank and are saying that, oh, we're against the government environmental, it's the belief that competitive free market and property rights stimulate the technological innovations and behavioral changes required to protect our environment and ecosystems. Trump just blocked and banned wind power. Trump is still going on about ancient news about birds running into the turbines, which hasn't been a problem in years. It was fixed. The free market fixed it. Even if you think it was a problem, the free market will fix it. And it did. Energy and resources, again, wind power. Government finance and spending, Trump is jacking it up. Government debt, through the roof. Now, given his tariffs could raise more taxes. So we'll see if the net ends up reducing debt there. Government employees, he's kept them on while firing them. If we're paying more, it's not the problem with government employees is not the number of people. If you could get away with paying them $0 to do their job, that doesn't solve my problem when they're being government employees, right? That doesn't solve the libertarian issue. It's that there is government over us. So not solving that issue. Money and financial markets, already directly working with SpaceX and Tesla to change things. He's talking about rolling back benefits for EVs, but not for Tesla. That is picking and choosing winners blatantly.
It is. And so again, this is what is what we need to do a better job of communicating about how planning is bad. Centralized, nationalized economic planning is bad. Command economies are bad. Pseudo-command economies that choose winners and losers and try to impose restrictions that force you to buy a certain product are not good when they come from the state. When the state is the one that is in charge of economic planning, I don't care if they call themselves capitalist. I don't care if they call themselves communist. It's not good. So there is a distinction between state capitalism and actual free markets. And there are a lot of iterations of that. There's a distinction between state capitalism and other types of corporatism, which I don't particularly align with, but there is. So it's the choosing winners and losers. It's the subsidizing. It's the creating regulations and restrictions that erect barriers to entry, that make it so that people who are trusted or people who are liked or people who have already gotten their foot in are able to stay in, blocking out anyone else. And in the meantime, there is a collusion between all of this and big labor and big labor unions. When you have the ability to lock workers into a union relationship, which blocking charges will do, and when you are allowed to be a private sector union, such as UAW, holding the speech of public sector employees hostage as they do over the UCLA graduate students and many others, they will find sectors to monopolize and they will take those sectors. A union is a business, and what they do, their product is your speech. So you give that to them, and you also give them money. And anytime that you want to negotiate with your employer, there's that intermediary, and you can't do it individually. So the fact that there is a private sector union, there are many private sector unions in the public sector directing the speech of public sector employees is nuts. and it's incredibly corporatist. And we don't hear about it. Nobody makes a big stink about it because the people who would ordinarily make a big stink about it that we think of are the people who are benefiting. It's UAW,
Right.
it's Teamsters, it's all that crap.
Yes, 100%.
Sorry, go.
No, you're good. I was going to see if you wanted to keep on that one, or if you wanted to keep going through these planks just as a summary, right quick.
We can go through planks. That's fine.
Okay, then licensing. Trump wants us to all have to have public licenses for voting. Trump wants us to have public licenses to prove we're citizens. Trump wants us to have public licenses so the government can track us. That's fucked. They have no right to know. It goes back to the security and privacy earlier. Trump's against sex work. He doesn't want it to be decriminalized. He doesn't like free labor markets. Education, he's attacking the Department of Education, which, depending on how it's done, I don't necessarily disagree with. The Department of Education has been a giant clusterfuck. I would love to see it removed from the federal government and go back to being states and local. But all he's doing right now is making their life hell rather than actually trying to cut anything. And he's not trying to work with Congress to fix it. Healthcare, he immediately cut Biden's price fixes because Biden did them, which I'm against price fixes. I'm not necessarily against that. But then he put in his own.
Yep.
Because he wants those price fixes. He just doesn't want them rubber stamped by Joe Biden. I don't care if it's a blue or a red stamp. I want no stamp. No stamps. Retirement and income security, that's out the window. The market's down like crazy already. And then the last 7 are from the security and liberty plank. National defense, we support the maintenance of a sufficient military to defend the United States against aggression. The U.S. should both avoid entangling alliances and abandon its attempt to act as policemen for the world. We oppose any form of compulsory national service. That ain't happening, right? Like, Trump is directly failing that one. Internal security and individual rights. Not good there. We just talked about the tracking. International affairs. American foreign policy should emphasize peace with all nations. We just bombed a country we have no business being in. Free trade and migration. Go ahead, sorry.
I said, well, no, some peaceful relationships are more peaceful than others. That's all.
Free trade and migration. Trump just stopped all migration to the country. Not even just he's not just cracking down illegal immigration. He stopped the task forces that were going after specifically criminals and told them to go after all illegal immigrants instead. Instead of going after the actual criminals, the people that people have a problem with being here, for the people who are against immigration, he's going after peaceful workers. We're already seeing it affect prices. We're already seeing farmers talk about how 2/3 of their workers are no longer showing up. And Trump is like, well, they shouldn't have had illegal workers. It's like, well, then maybe you shouldn't have screwed around with the economy and made it so we couldn't afford workers. Yeah, then it's kind of tied together.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that, so the argument, and I'm radical caucus here, so this is kind of a radical caucus talking point, is the argument tends to be, well, we can't have really open immigration until we fix our welfare system. You don't get to prioritize. You don't get to prioritize when it comes to this kind of thing. You want to be radical on all the points. And then if we have open immigration, then that can become a talking point for why we need to reform the welfare state.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Rights and discrimination? No, dog. Women's rights, trans rights, anybody that's not a white man, get fucked, is pretty much the Trumpian way. I'm sure that's going to get clipped. I'm going to look real bad in a year, but that's fine.
Just take that out of context. If you ever run for anything, I'm already screwed. So, yeah.
Yeah. Representative government, he's literally tried to overthrow the representation. Like, how much worse do you get on that? And then self-determination. He's not for that either. You do not get to determine yourself under Trump. That is literally the entire list, other than omissions, which is the catch-all 10th Amendment form for our group. That's every one of our planks. He violates all of them. He's not libertarian. And the argument that Jim made, which I understand where he's coming from, but I just don't think he's right on this one, is that Trump is attacking some of the services that we want gone. And he's trying to, like USAID, for instance, and that he's attacking some of the broken things that have been spying on people, like the FBI and CIA. On the surface, if you just take it completely out of context, that's potentially true. You can say that's incrementalism. But he's doing it by growing it in other places. And if the net isn't positive, the net isn't positive. And so to me, it's just, I don't understand why we're even having a discussion about whether or not we should be backing Trump. We have a platform. He's not in line with any of it. He's not a libertarian, right? It's that simple.
Right. And I mean, if the litmus test is, well, we need so the ex-politician has done Y things that are kind of libertarian if you turn and squint, we can do that with anyone. We can do that with Kamala Harris if you want. We can do that with Joe Biden. We can do that with Barack Obama for sure. That can't be a standard.
I was having the conversation with Stephanie Berlin recently. For those who don't know, she's up in Iowa, if I remember right. Hold on, let me pull up a contact list, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, in Iowa. She's been working on the Leonard Peltier case for over 25 years, since before I was a libertarian, since the late 90s. And Peltier just got freed by Biden. Why is that not everywhere on national? Why do we not have a thing from national praising the fact that libertarians fought for something? We worked with the lawyer, and we got this person freed. And we know why this is. It's because the previous administration, or the previous libertarian administration, I'm sorry, doesn't like Peltier. Angela has made comments to the effect before that he's a communist, which he kind of is, but he's an ANCOM.
I mean, are we hitting on the ANCOMs now? I mean, they're.
Oh, she does, yeah. But she said that they need to be taken out, that they should not be considered part of the Libertarian Party.
This is the ridiculous thing: is they're the heart. I mean, libertarianism in its inception was ANCOM. That is the history of libertarianism. We should do a stream on this sometime. The history of libertarian thought and anarchic thought. These were primarily socialist and communist. And they were anarchic. And so it's voluntary relationships, it's mutual relationships. Now, again, some people will be like, okay, well, how can you possibly have a voluntary mutual relationship if you're forcing someone to abdicate their property? A, you're not, because if you're forcing someone, it's not a voluntary mutual relationship. B, a lot of this confusion stems from the classical liberal model of property rights. That is a paradigm and it's a way of thinking. It's kind of a metaphysics. And so it's not demonstrable. But when you grow up with that paradigm of my property is an extension of me, what I labor on can become mine. First of all, you're treading towards slightly Marxian territory. There are various interpretations of that. But if you do that, then you're going to think that, okay, anarcho-communism is crazy. But if you separate a material product of labor from discrete bounded self-ownership, then what you have is a model of communal ownership, where you can actually say consistently and logically, according to that thought structure, property is theft, ownership is not. So again, it's a different way of thinking, but our heritage is in freaking people like Machno, which if you don't know who he is, he's wonderful. He is the revolution's most based giga chad, and everyone should learn about Nestor Machno right now. All right, that's my piece. I've got a song about him too. It's great. But it's coming up in a couple weeks. But so that's our history, that's our heritage, and we should talk about that more.
Yes, we should set up a stream for this. We should poke Ben Weir on this one, because I know that he's got strong opinions against where we're standing on this.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people know Ben. We should grab a few different voices on this and try to have a round table and talk through it.
We've got a couple lip soaks in our Discord too, who might be
Yep, that's true.
or
Cerebella would be another
libertarians.
good one.
Yeah, be good. Were you done critiquing the unlibertarianness of Donald Trump?
Yeah, that is the last plank
That's
there.
the full list.
Devin has a clip of Trump that he wants to share where he actually says the Gaza Strip, so it's not just a quote.
Okay. Yeah, anytime I can look at Trump's face, that's what I want to see.
Ah.
He looks so relevant.
Area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all exploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job.
Oh my
Do something
God.
different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire of a beautiful area.
Even
Oh
Bibi
my
is like,
God.
I don't know what's happening right now. This man is just rambling like Joe Biden rambled in that debate. I don't know
Yeah.
what he said. I don't think he knows what he said. Something about a job.
As per Dr. Michael Rechtenwald, so the U.S. is going to go into the Gaza Strip to clean it, remove all the people there, and rebuild the region. Then the U.S., says Trump, will own it. This is the most criminal plan ever contemplated in the open.
I'm not sure it's the most criminal plan ever contemplated in the open, but it's not great.
No!
I don't know how much my opinion is worth to Dr. Rechtenwald personally.
Well, like, I've certainly had more disagreement than agreement with Dr. Rechtenwald. But my problems with Dr. Rechtenwald's rhetoric, and like this is one of the ones that it's so unfathomable to any libertarian of any kind. We're talking about making war on people which I know that Trump didn't say that, but that's what this is. On people who just had everything destroyed.
I mean, if
Slavery is so much better.
Then it's not war.
Well, you could still argue that it's an economic war, but yes, you're right. You're right. I just imagine that Trump is going to make Gaza into Mar-a-Lago 2 and then charge everyone a shitload of rent to be there.
I mean, if there were Trump towers in Gaza, I mean, we can envision that for just a second. It's not that I want that to happen. It's just that the visual is funny.
I would laugh as I cried, I guess is how I would put that one.
Yeah. The lol cry meme would be very relevant.
So I guess we have hit an hour at this point, so more closer to what people probably expected a stream to be.
Yeah, we should have done a reenactment of what we expected the LNC to be like. Just a bunch of people cutting in, trying to.
You just have people whipping the knife out and going for it.
Yeah.
We didn't have a single time where Pat Ford screamed tonight. How am I supposed to win my drinking game if Pat Ford doesn't scream?
He might have been muted. I was saying during that last stream that we should have done a drinking game. So next time there's a meeting and it's meant to be good, then we will do a drinking game, and we'll have a special clause for if the meeting is boring. We'll also have drinking rules for that. So we'll figure it out.
So I have no idea when our next stream will be. I know that we're gonna have one on the 16th, right?
Yeah, we will have one on the 16th for sure. Talking about, we're gonna go through Trump's executive orders one by one, and we're gonna talk about them. And we are going to talk about sort of a libertarian response to them and or a libertarian administration and what our approach would be to that.
With a special guest for that.
Yes, with a special guest. And it's going to be really fun. We're looking forward to it.
So I'm hoping we can get someone else out this week. I think there's probably going to be some other dumpster fire to cover, right?
There'll be something else. I was sitting in a grocery store parking lot and I got a text from Discord saying that there was a meeting and that it was going to be one to watch. And so I didn't get groceries. I just sped right back here. I started the stream with my coat on, ladies and gentlemen. and then I took it off and put something else on. So you're just seeing a disheveled mess of me right now, but we do it for you, the people, and we will continue to do it for you, the people, the masses, the proletariat. I don't know, the bourgeoisie. I don't. Any of you really. We are for all of the people, including the ANCOMs on their little island.
It's I would argue that we are for the tired, the poor, and the huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
Yeah, I like
the
that.
wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest lost to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door as the LP Alliance lamp. I think the new Colossus is a pretty good description for what we want.
Yes, dig it. Absolutely. So yes, we've got our website down there, lp-alliance.com, and we continue to refurb it. We continue to be doing cool things with it. We also have our Discord, which is Discord and LP-Alliance in there. So come and check us out. We would love to have you. We would love to work with you. And we're gonna keep on riding this wave all the way to the Grand Rapids Revolution. So we need you, and we need your spunk and your fire. So from vision to victory, let's go.